for number 2, the rooftop dance. Grace and Michael graced the floor at the rooftop dance floor. It was one spectacular dance as he dipped her in his arms. Mom and Dad applauded. They looked beautiful together. Really, like a bride and a groom should, said Julie to Michael, her husband. And of course, Johnny Knox and Vanessa said, wow, they look like husband and wife. Well, they couldn't dance too long as they obviously knew it was cold. And they were going to dance as long as they could. And they were going to join in as soon as they were done with their solo performance. Everybody in the staff just watched and gazed as these two just danced in a solo performance. Wow, how beautiful, said the waitress. All the waitresses gushed over the dance performance. They just looked so stunning. As the night lights and the shimmering stars just danced in the night sky, it was just a sight to see them dancing in each other's arms. Grace, in Michael's arms, said, "Happy anniversary" to Michael. And he said, "Happy anniversary, Grace." It was a perfect evening. It wasn't even that cold, to be honest with you, said Grace. To be in your arms like this means so much. Yes, Grace. Well, as the dancing continued, everybody joined in, one by one, and they danced until they could dance no more. They knew it was almost time to finish up their dancing, but they could have danced all night long. As their night was winding to an end, Tom, the driver, was waiting for them, and they knew they had to drop off all the other guests. Of course, because they had drank champagne throughout the evening, there was the rule of no drinking and driving, as stated by Michael. But they made sure that everybody had their keys so they could get into their houses. That was one thing that Michael did remind himself, to make sure they had their house keys. So as they left the rooftop restaurant and tipped the waitress handsomely and made sure the bussers got tipped, they knew it was time to go. The rooftop dance was a success. Everybody applauded them, as they will never forget this experience. How elegant, how beautiful, as the staff watched them pass by. Everybody just enjoyed their performance. They looked like they belonged together, as one waitress said passing by. They looked truly like a handsome couple, as one bartender mentioned. Really, they do. They made sure the bartender was tipped out as well. They didn't want to forget to tip out everybody that took care of them that night, especially their driver. So as they got into their stretch limousine, they knew that it was time to go and drop Johnny and Vanessa Knox off first. And then, of course, Julie and Michael as well. So this is it. This is the wind down. How did everybody see the night ending like this, huh? Well, it was a beautiful starry night, said Julie Carrington. And Michael said, I agree. I don't think you could ask for a better night. It turned out to be 60 degrees. Who would have thought that a cold morning would end like this? It really was a beautiful, sparkly night. The stars were sparkling. The street lights were all listening. And who would disagree? Mom and Dad were in awe. They couldn't believe their son and daughter-in-law looked so elegant. They couldn't forget the image of what was in their mind. You really impressed me, said Johnny. You really went all out for your wife. I'm going to have to do the same thing for my wife. I really learned a lot about what a husband and wife should do for one another. Vanessa just elbowed him and said, You really would? Yeah, I really would. I really will go all out for you. The way he does for Grace, I'm going to do that too. I don't know where I'm going to start and begin, but I'm definitely learning some lessons about husband and wife. Lessons that are worth learning. So, as the night had finally come to, sadly, unfortunately, a close because most of them didn't want the night to end, they dropped off Johnny Knox and Vanessa to their house as they knew they could pick up their car in the morning. And then Michael and Jolie Carrington, as they too were dropped off to their house, and they too were going to pick up their car in the morning. It was finally coming to an end. Mom and Dad were going to stay over in the guest room, and that was it. As the stretch limousine made it home to 2838 Meadowbrook Drive, it was finally time to end the night, and they tipped out their limo driver, Tom, handsomely, and they meant over tipped him. Tom said, "You shouldn't have done this much for me. I really appreciate it. Well, you took good care of us, and we wanted to take care of you," said Michael. Grace got up to the stairway and thanked Tom before she left. And that was the end of the night, said Mom. How about that, Tom? Did you enjoy yourself? Did I enjoy myself? I saw my son dance the night away with his wife. I can't get it out of my mind. Wow. Well, it was still young and fresh in his mind. Wow. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Simply simple and elegant is what Mom said to Dad. As they got upstairs, Mom and Dad went to bed. They realized it was obviously time to get some sleep. So they said their goodnights to Grace and Michael and said, "Thank you so much." Everybody enjoyed themselves immensely. It was really too perfect for words, said Mom. Can't get enough. I have more things to say about it as time goes on. Just thank you. And Dad said, "Son, you looked wonderful out there. And Grace, there's a reason why they named you Grace. You looked simply graceful out there." "I love you too, Dad. I love you too, Mom," said Grace. So they headed up to bed, and that was the end of the night for Mom and Dad as they closed out the night. Michael and Grace looked at each other. "I simply have no words to express my love for you." "Well, I feel like the same way," said Grace. "You took me in your arms like a true romantic that you are." "There's so much to say, and I'm so sleepy." "Yeah, you're my sleeping beauty. Really, truly you are," said Grace's husband, Michael. "You're everything, honey, and more. I love you more and more every day," said Grace. "Thank you for a wonderful night. Thank you for everything that you did for me. Thank you for being selfless and just everything a wife could want and more." Well, Grace and Michael didn't want to end the night at that. It became a long, long night, and they continued to kiss as they went to bed and consummated their relationship again and again. As morning rose, it was obvious that Johnny had already got his car, and so did Michael, as they both had to work that next day. So Michael noticed the cars were already gone. It was obvious they needed their vehicles for work, Michael said to Grace. They needed to go to work, I guess. "Yeah, well, they didn't drink and drive. That was the point," said Mom and Dad as they were pouring coffee. "Yeah, they all know the rules to the game. That's the point." As they were getting the morning started early, Lisa was leaving as Stacy was coming in to fill in. "How was everything last night?" "Everything was divine. It was beautiful." Really, Mom and Dad were speechless. They just had gushed over really how Grace and Michael stole the show, how the restaurant applauded them. They even had a tour of the restaurant, and the chef gave them a special tour. They couldn't believe how the staff had treated them. It was a special first class service. They gushed over how the driver took good care of them, and just the whole night itself was a first class, first rate service. Everything about it was just too perfect for words. Not only was it Valentine's Day, but it was their third wedding anniversary. There's really no words for it, said Michael. I could go on and on about it. Grace said the same thing. There's just more to talk about, and we will share more as the day goes on. We got to get the kids ready for school. Oh no, they're in service day. They're sleeping, said Stacy. Did you know that? Oh, that's right. I forgot. They have a parent teachers conference the next 2 days. Parent teachers conference? Did we not know about that? Well, it's not an actual conference. It's an in-service day. You don't have to attend. I don't have to attend. It's an in-service day. If they notify you to be inside the conference, it's for special needs students only. Oh, okay, said Grace. Whew. Michael just breathed a sigh of relief. I thought we had to be there. Oh, no, they would contact you if you have to be there. Well, that's a relief. So, what does your day look like today? Well, really nothing. And we plan on doing nothing. We're just going to rest and take it easy. And Mrs. Yokoshona made her way up and said, I heard that you all danced the night away. Is that true? Mrs. Yokoshona, if you knew how good of a dancer Michael and Grace are, said Mom and Dad, you would have been impressed like everybody else was. Oh, I know. They get it. Well, let's just say Jenny gets her dancing from her mom and dad. I know, and I know this to be true. Jenny doesn't perform just because she's a performer by herself. She gets her talents from her parents. See, she watches closely. I told you she's a good listener, and she pays close attention. She doesn't dance just because she's a good dancer by herself. She pays attention to romance and all the beauty around her. And that's because it's all about performing. There's an artist in each one of us, and that's what I see in our family. Artistry at work.